past two classes, we talked about the introduction and then the first factor for being happy. The first factor was your ability to connect with the reality. We may think we are in the reality all the time, but most of the times we are in a different world rather than being here and now. There is a reason for this. As human beings, we always want to look at the future. We are not happy with what we have. Here again, there could be multiple reasons why we are not happy with what we have. We imagine that the future may bring new things, exciting things than what I have right now. That could be one of the reasons. Another reason could be, I'm not happy with what I have already. I don't like what I have. I may have a blue shirt, but I would like to have a red shirt. I'm just giving a crude example. You get the point. There could be another reason too. My life is full of so much of anguish, sorrow, and suffering. I want to have a better future. For all these various reasons, we always look for something in the future. We always want something exciting. Our everyday life is not giving us that excitement. It's also not expected. That is why we have a disconnect with the reality. We always want something to be more exciting. We want to meet with exciting people. We want to do some exciting things. We want to acquire exciting objects in our life. Because our life, when we live in this reality, it is not giving us that excitement. We always look for something in the future, a hope. In Buddhism, this hope, the future, is always considered an imagination. That means we are not connected with the reality. This is exactly why we end up in suffering. We want to get something, but the reality is different. The gap between these two make us suffer. So this is what we learned in the first class. If you are able to be in the reality and relish what you have, then you are happy. Therefore, you are in a heaven. When Buddha talks about heaven, this is one of the factors. Today, we are going to talk about the second factor, which is to have control over anger. Anger is one of the powerful emotions. We are going to talk about that today. Only when you control your anger, if you are able to remove anger from your life, if not fully, as much as possible, we have a peaceful mind that will give us a happy life. So that is what we are going to talk about in today's class. This reminds me of something I heard about this week. They have invented a new game. This again, people who are familiar with video games and on the technical side, you may be able to relate to this. They have a game which they call this as uncertainty game. This game, as we all know, any game will allow you to do certain activities and get some results and make you happy and things like that. But this game, this is more towards the reality. What it does is, when you look at different scenarios, it wants you to think about certain scenarios in which you cannot expect anything might not happen. Let's say I am building a home and I don't think of any uncertain events that will stop building my home. But in this game, they're asking you to consider those things. Everything is uncertain. That uncertainty is built into that game, which means when something happens which we do not like, we are in a receptive mind. We knew that this might go wrong. It doesn't mean that you are planning to fail. You are planning to succeed, but you also know there is some element of failure. If that happens, I am in a right mind to accept it. Therefore, I am accepting reality, nothing more than that. When I accept something going wrong as it is, without my interpretation, now I can think beyond that to fix it. So that's why we always want us to be in the reality. I heard about this game and they're trying to reflect reality as it is, even though it is a game. Maybe they have achieved it as a little bit. That is something I heard about. How this is related to anger. When you think of anger, anger is an emotion. Let's look at some of the important information about anger, just anger. Anger, as we all know, is a powerful emotion. When I say emotion, there are emotions which causes changes in your body. They are the ones they call emotions scientifically. When an emotion comes, when something happens outside or you think about something in your mind and that triggers this emotion, what is happening is inside your body there are several hormones which begin to secrete. One of the common hormone which we all know is cortisol, the stress causing hormone. When that happens, when that hormone begins to secrete and get spread across your body in your bloodstream, you are going to behave differently. We all know how we behave when we get angry. Our blood flow will increase, we feel hot, we feel uncontrollably moving, our body is moving, so many things will happen. You may feel that you are not in control. It is actually true. Your body is doing this with all these changes happening inside. And they also say these emotions are just short-lived. It won't be there after the second minute or so. It is just there for 1 or 2 minutes. We all know this. Anger comes and just suddenly it goes. But when it comes, it made some changes to your bloodstream. Because of that, your body is going to act differently. Your heartbeat going faster, you are sweating. And then this impact of that change, which happened for 2 minutes, is going to be there for at least 24 hours or sometimes more than that. That is why when I get angry for some incident which I do not want to encounter, that anger may come and go, but the next day it continues. I still show my frustration with other things, with other people. And you may wonder why. I'm happy today. How come I'm not behaving the way I should have behaved? Because that anger made that damage. We are simply thinking this is a mental thing. Anger can be easily stopped and it is not going to cause any harm. But it is affecting you as a person first. It affects our own body first. It affects our mental health and your physical body. And then, of course, it has other effects. It's going to affect your friends or co-workers or whoever you're going to be with. So this is the basics of anger. When Buddha talks about anger, he wanted anger to be replaced with love or non-anger. How do we do that? Here, I want to mention a couple of examples in one of the scriptures from India. This is written in Tamil. It's again an ancient language. In that, I'm going to quote a couple of things about anger. This is written by one famous poet called Thiruvalluvar. So I'm going to quote from him. He is asking the usefulness of anger. Why at all we should get angry? Again, this is a very old scripture. It has a lot of wisdom contained in it. He says, if you cannot express your anger when you are with people who are above you, like your boss, like your elders, where you cannot express your anger. I think all of us are in the same situation, some of this kind of situation. We are feeling angry, we feel frustrated, but you cannot express it because the person who is standing in front of you is somebody superior to you. It could be the age or status. You cannot show your anger. Let's say you are at work and you are angry with something, with the work you have been assigned to, but you cannot show that anger to your boss. You keep quiet, but the anger is still there. So now here Thiruvalluvar is asking, what is the use of that anger? Because you cannot express it to somebody who is superior to you. And he's also going in the other direction. This is why I like his verses. He says, if you have people around you who are weaker, who cannot show their superior towards you, why you should show the anger to them? Because they are the weaklings, they are the weak people. To give an example, we are in our family, we have our children who are younger to us, or younger brother or sister, and maybe our own spouse. We show anger to them all the time because they cannot show their retaliation to us immediately or for whatever reason we talked about earlier. So now you are in a superior position. You have some control over them. So Thiruvalluvar is asking, what is the point of showing your anger to weak people? Because those people are depending on you. They look towards you for love and compassion and guidance. Is it worthwhile to show your anger to them? Because they are under your support. So now you have two situations where you can show your anger to somebody superior to you. You cannot show that. But whereas here, people who are weak, you don't want to show them because you want to be loving and compassionate. In these two situations, when anger is not useful at all, why you want to use anger? Why you want to bring out that anger? This is the question Thiruvalluvar asks us. Something to think about. Just think about all the situations when you get angry today, or last week, or yesterday. We would have brought out that anger to people who are around us, at the same time who are not able to resist that. And sometimes we feel angry, but we don't show it because of social conditions. We want to show ourselves as nice people, not to show our anger. So this is something we want to think about, how anger has to be managed. When we began our class, we are talking about heaven on earth. As a background to this, we talked about what is heaven. The heaven is a place which is again an imaginary place many scriptures talk about, where there is happiness all the time. In Buddhist theology, there is also a mention about heaven and people who live there. The people who are living there are called devas. This is a Sanskrit word. To give an equivalent meaning, could be angels. Angels live in heavens. Imagine a situation when you are in heaven where there is no sorrow at all. People are not going to be angry with you, and you don't have to struggle for anything. Everything is given to you. This is the description given in many scriptures about heaven. You don't have to face disease or old age or frustration, your neighbor fighting with you. None of that is going to be there, which means you have a jolly good life all the time. You're not going to get old. What more you want? Because of this environment, they are not going to know anything about sorrow or suffering or anger. So how come they will learn about sorrow? In the Buddhist scripture, it says, when you go do some good deeds, you are going to live in the heaven for a short amount of time. This is like your bank balance. As soon as your bank balance is gone, you are back in the streets. In the same way, when you are doing some good deeds, you go to the heaven, live there for some time, and once this is all exhausted, you come back to live a normal life. How these angels or devas are going to learn about these nice things, what we are talking about here, what we call as Dhamma, the natural way of living. So they say, this is again a belief. When we talk about the scriptures, the Buddhist scriptures, the devas have to come here to the earth to listen to this. Because the earth, being on the earth, gives us the opportunity to be with sorrow and happiness. Everything is mixed together. That's why this is called Bhuloka, or this earth. So the angels have to come here to listen to what is Dhamma, what is the sorrow, and how you can overcome it. If you take away this belief, if you think about it, when we have our mind in control, when we have a peaceful mind, even though the external environment may not be good for us, if we have a peaceful and calm mind, what more you want? That place becomes a heaven. This is how we should understand. This means the angels, not only angels, the people around us are going to enjoy that environment, what we create for them. To have that environment, one of the conditions is the absence of anger, or how we have to remove anger in that environment. So I can give you several examples. One of the stories which I want to share here about this anger. I also mentioned earlier, when we talk of emotions, anger is the most powerful one. We also need to think about all other emotions, the emotions which are short-lived, having an impact in your body, therefore it causes a lot of other troubles. So when I speak of anger, it's not only anger. There are several other emotions which we need to learn to manage and control and overcome. This story, again, is a short one. There used to be a king in India, and he come across a monk, and he was practicing meditation. Having seen this monk, the king is very materialistic. He always wanted to enjoy pleasures. Seeing this monk, he thought of getting rid of him. He got angry with this monk for no reason at all, because his way of living is different from this person. So he said, I want to get rid of this guy. So he went and talked to him, and he says, this is not the way of living. You should enjoy whatever is given to you instead of being a monk and going away from all these things. For that, there was an argument, and at the end, the king got so angry, he asked his people to cut off his arms, both the hands and limbs. And all these stories coming from ancient scriptures, it will have all these kind of descriptions. As per his order, both of his arms and limbs were cut off. And you can see the pain that somebody has to go through. And one of the ministers who is going there and talking to this monk, he asked the monk, I'm very sorry about what our king has done to you. Please do not curse us. In those days, when you get angry, you curse, and therefore it has some bad impact on you. So the minister asked for forgiveness. If you want to curse, just curse the king. Don't curse us or our people. For which the monk replied, my patience is in my mind. Even if my limbs and arms are cut off, my peace, my peaceful mind is with me all the time. So therefore, I'm not getting angry. And he said, for cursing, I'm not going to curse you or the king. I want the king to live a long life. I want him to have a happy life. This is not because that he is trying to be a good person. He understood the reality. The reality is the peace and the your calmness is in your mind. It has nothing to do with what is happening outside. He had that great wisdom. So therefore, he said that and then he passed away. There are a lot of stories like this. The basic idea behind this is when you have a mind which is free of impurities, we call this as impurities. And if you are able to get rid of all these impurities, and if you have a calm and serene mind, that is the state of mind we all want to get into. Therefore, we can be happy. When we talk about serenity, we are talking about the impurities that need to be removed. In many religions, they talk about evil. They talk about things one must not do. They are called impurities. In Buddhism, the impurities are, of course, the actions what you do has to be mindful so that you don't commit any bad things to the other person. Here, impurities means a few things. The most important impurity in our mind is anger and then ignorance. These two are important. And third is jealousy or envy, I would say. So all these three strong emotions are considered impurity, because if these impurities are present in your mind, the way we are going to act in the world is going to cause suffering, not only to us, even for others. We also know about how anger is going to cause a lot of sufferings to others. This impurity, let us think about anger being an impurity in our mind. When we get anger again and again for whatever reasons, and that is going to cause suffering to others, it is not helping anyone. This is not going to help you progress in your spirituality. You are not going to have a happy life to live, and you are going to make others' life miserable as well. So therefore, this impurity has to be removed. That is why this is called as a impurity. And then ignorance, and then envious. All those things are other impurities to talk about. Since our focus is on anger, we stick to that. If we are able to remove that impurity, your mind becomes serene and calm. With that state of mind, we can continue to live in our life. This brings me to the other part of this question. What happens when somebody is making me angry? We hear it all the time. We all think that anger is something is coming out of me because of the people outside or the environment outside. There is always a trigger from outside, but the anger is rising from within you. This is something we have to clearly understand. Any emotion is coming from your own mind. It is being triggered from outside. You have a choice always. Either you can get angry or you just ignore it. The triggers are everywhere. You look around, you talk to people, there might be a lot of triggers. When you listen to the news, there are so many triggers. If you listen to or read any magazines or books, there might be a lot of triggers. Therefore, we should be very careful on what we consume. When I say consume, all that you hear and see and think about, everything you need to be very careful of, so that all of these things are not going to create any kind of impurities, again, these kind of emotions in your mind. So when you listen to something like that, or when you read about something, the emotion is created within you based on your own conditioning. A thing which is causing anger in you may not cause any anger to me, because your interpretation of the environment or what this trigger means is different than my understanding. So each person is different. So the anger is coming from within. And most of us think the people who are outside are the cause for my anger. And we think that because of that, we want to keep away from them instead of dealing with them. I don't want to deal with this person because he is making me angry all the time. He makes the whole thing frustrating. I don't want to work with this co-worker because he is causing so much of trouble. And in my family, there could be a few members whom I'm not able to get along with. So I'm getting angry all the time. So many of our students ask about this. How can I make the other person understand this so that they are not causing any trouble to me? For us, we always think the other is the problem. But if we can understand this little bit closely, it's with us. This anger which is coming out of us because of our own mind. So how do we deal with these people or situation? Buddhism has an answer. The answer is, whenever someone is making you angry for whatever reasons, the reasons can be anything, physical, mental, or action or words. If you think that person is making you angry, do not consider that person as your enemy. That person is your best friend. This is what Buddha teaches us. The person who is causing that anger in you, don't have a negative opinion about him. Consider him as one of your best friend. Why? By making you angry, by being the trigger of your anger, he is doing something highly beneficial to you. He is helping you to practice your Dhamma, your calmness. We may all think that I have been meditating for so long. I learned so many scriptures. I know a lot about meditation, mindfulness. I listened to so many teachers. I've been practicing for years. It's good that you have all this knowledge and practice. Now you put them to test. Bring along this person who is going to make you unhappy or angry. And then if that anger from the other person is not causing that anger, that means you are stable in your practice. Anything that is happening outside, consider them as your teacher. They are the best friends. Each time something or someone is causing that anger, think that this is a blessing which is going to help you practice your Dhamma. You can also think that, again, if we extend this idea about how we are all interconnected, again, this could be from Buddhist scripture, which they talk about the people who see around you. They can be, might have been your parents or sisters or friends or someone whom you may have related to in the past. That relationship is coming back to you, and some of them are going to cause that anger because of something you did in the past. That karma is following you. So when it happens to you, just accept it. And you don't have to have this belief, but the idea is very simple. You don't have to go to the previous births. Even in our own time period where we live on this earth, we would have done so many similar things. We might have been the source of anger for many such people. We don't know about them. So when these kind of triggers come to us, we should have this understanding that this is all helping me to practice my mindfulness. How far I can be mindful when these things happen. When you practice this a few times like this person is not going to be your enemy or a source of anger, he is going to be your friend. There is no anger rising out of you because you understood the source of the anger and you know how to manage it. This is again explained nicely in the other scripture which we all know, Bhagavad Gita. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, the people who are closest to you, who are dear to you, they are the ones who are going to keep you in samsara, the cycle of life and death. Or for our understanding, we can say the cycle of sorrow and happiness. We are in this condition because of the people who are loving and dear to us. So this is like a controversial statement. We think that this is the other way. These are the people who make me angry. But let's listen to the second part of what Krishna says. He says, the people who you consider as enemies, who are causing disturbances in your mind, they are the best friend because they are the ones who are going to make you come out of the cycle of birth and death or sorrow and happiness. So let me repeat what Krishna says. The people who are going to be dear to you, your family and friends, they are going to keep you in samsara because they are dear to you. You are working for them, earning a living, keeping them happy, and so on and so forth. Therefore, they keep you in samsara. But if you think about your other people whom you consider as enemies, they are the best friends because as soon as you get triggered by anger or this unwanted feeling, you know that this life is full of suffering. These people are reminding you this. These people are reminding you, hey, this is not a jolly good life all the time. You have to go through all this. Now, when all these things are happening around you, you know what to do. You want to pursue the path of spirituality. That is the power of those people. In other words, we can consider that they are our agents to push you into spirituality. There are certain situations which I'll ask you to go more vigorously into spirituality. So these are the people who are helping us. So therefore, Krishna says, they are your best friends. Just like what Buddha says, they are the best friends because they help you to practice Dhamma. We learn about anger and we learn about all other emotions. They simply means this. Our mind, which is always agitated for whatever reasons, when you have an unstable mind, when I say unstable, it's not that you need to have a mind which is totally crazy. Even our everyday living, we have all these challenges and movements in our mind, the anger, frustrations, all these emotions. When we are able to overcome these emotions, the mind automatically becomes calm. It has the ability to think, the ability to analyze, the ability to logically work on problems and come out of all these problems. We always say when you are emotional, you are not thinking, which is true. They have proven this. When you are emotionally charged, your mind, your thinking part, the executive part of the brain is not going to work. So therefore, it is important for us to have some control over these emotions, bring a calm mind to ourselves, which will benefit others. And with that mind, when you approach life, it's going to be happy. Not only you are going to be happy, the environment is going to be happy. The family, the workplace, wherever you go, that place is going to be a little bit calmer, little bit happier, where even the angels would come. That's what Buddha says. So this is the second factor we all have to keep in mind to have a happy life.